India's economy continues to rise, and this has also been reiterated by the Reserve Bank of India in its latest bulletin. Our next report spells out more details.
India is on the cusp of a long-awaited economic takeoff. This is what the Reserve Bank of India has said in its latest monthly bulletin. Early estimates also suggest that the GDP growth for first quarter of financial year 2024-2025 is likely to remain close to 7.5%. Not only this, India is expected to become a $5 trillion economy in the next 3 years. India's manufacturing activity hit a 16-year high this March as per a survey by S&P Global. The country's strides in the manufacturing sector was also highlighted by Prime Minister Narendra Modi on social media site X. He was responding to a top executive's remark that almost 100% of mobile phones used in India are being manufactured locally.
The country and our company has come a very, very long way. Remembering the time when we imported almost all the mobile phones that were sold in the country. I think we were importing almost all the electronic products. Probably it's the first time in the history that a country has produced almost $100 billion worth of electronic products.
Global agencies have also taken note of India's economic rise. According to the International Monetary Fund, by 2027, India will become the world's third largest economy, surpassing Germany. Bureau Report, DD India.
Let's talk more about this with our guest, Mr. Shubhamoy Bhattacharjee, Senior Economic Journalist, is joining us. Thank you so much, sir. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining in on DD India News Hour. Let us get first more understanding from you as to how do you read the RBI's prediction when it says that the GDP growth is expected around 7.1%. This is again 7.1% estimated by the Monetary Policy Committee in its statement on 5th of April.
That's right. I mean, and you would see a bit further revision. I would expect that the RBI naturally and with good reason is being cautious. And there's reason to be cautious because the RBI data came in before the monsoon numbers or the monsoon predictions had come in. Since we are expecting a very good monsoon this time, so I would expect an upward revision in those numbers again at the next Monetary Policy Committee meeting. And also you can see that the world supply chain bottlenecks have actually not worsened. So together I would expect the numbers to look better. Yeah.
All right, you are also optimistic, but can, for a layman, for a common person to understand this, help us, spell out more as to what are the particular sectors that would contribute more in these GDP estimates?
Let's start from the rural sector. One of the first things that you'll see is that the demand for NREGA work, that should come down. Because what happens is that sort of a demand typically rises when the economy is not doing well, when jobs are becoming relatively scarce. This year, we should expect a better condition. So I would expect that the demand for NREGA work at the rural sector should come down. And once that happens, then there's an interesting thing, because that means that the rural population, there's more moving to the urban areas. And secondly, you expect that that sort of a thing is only happening when they are more optimistic of the job scenario. So together, that provides a very good indication of what is going to happen in the economy. So good monsoon, good rural income together then pushes for larger opportunities in the urban areas also, because then the companies also start producing more, especially the FMCG and others. Overall, that gives a better thrust to the economy, which gets to be reflected in the better GDP numbers.
All right, sir. Now, the Indian economy has demonstrated resilience in the face of the current geopolitical headwinds that are being witnessed. How strongly is India poised when we talk of the global page?
Rather well. In fact, what you would expect is that as we just talked about, in fact, the things that we are talking about are the local factors, the domestic factors. Now, if the domestic factors themselves are strong, then that actually allows the economy to insulate itself from the external headwinds. The advantage that we have is that the global oil prices are steady. And one of the key reasons for that is India, as a key buyer of the demand of the oil market, has started to show its influence. It has taken some years to build up, but it's reached a remarkable position where the Indian appetite for fuel, both oil and natural gas, makes for a very major impact on the world economy. The prices that the suppliers can afford to climb up to. And as you can see, that despite all the disturbances that's happening, that of the Red Sea, that of the consequent, the continuing Russia-Ukraine war, but despite all that, prices have not gone beyond a particular range. But that is something which is actually a very impressive position to be and a very comfortable position to be, which means that going ahead, you don't expect the prices to worsen. So that gives a very good ballast to the economy. And following from that, you can expect that the world, the other prices, the global commodity prices, excepting those for renewable energy, those should also remain stable. So those are very strong support for the growth drivers in the Indian economy.
All right,
Yes.
so these were the external factors. When you talk of the challenges back home, now, a lot of thrust has been put on manufacturing, the manufacturing of cell phones completely in the country. Then there is this the prospects of the semiconductor industry. And also when we talk of self-reliance, when we talk of Atmanirbharta, India has been making strides in that direction. But then how far are we away from the $5 trillion economy ambition, target, and on the way to it, how do you predict the road ahead?
Yeah, these are, as the economy goes ahead, you find more and more targets being achieved, more and more numbers looking impressive. This June itself, you would get a good, robust inflow of foreign investment, basically dollars into the Indian economy, basically because of the investment, because of the inclusion of India in the JP Morgan bond index. That's a big number. And that will have a substantial impact. Going ahead, when the new government comes in, you will expect that the rating agencies will also start upgrading many of the companies. So that should also start helping. You talked about the manufacturing, and the manufacturing sector obviously could do with lower prices, which mean lower interest rates, which means that if these money comes in, then their ability to source money for expansion becomes easier. So then they start looking at expanding their work. For a very long time, the Indian economy has depended on government expenditure, government capital expenditure
Yes.
to push the economy ahead. And that's been a very salutary thing. But now we would expect that the private sector to see that there is a very good reason for expansion. I mean, the initial film that you're showing about, clip that you're showing about the mobile manufacturing.
Yes.
Those are the sort of sectors where you would expect a larger movement, traction, electronic sector, EV sector. These are the sectors where one expects to see a very strong upsurge. Also sectors like the maritime sector, where
Yes.
there's a lot of interesting developments that are being planned. So these are the sectors where you would see lot of investor interest coming in. And obviously when they do so, then the downward, the linked sectors like steel or aluminium, they also see a fillip. Similarly for construction. Yes.
Right, so these were the sectors which will be playing a prominent and a pivotal role. Thank you so much, sir, for joining in with that outlook on DD India News app. And that was about the GDP.